Yo,
Welcome back.
we're in different places.
We're in different places. Different places and 6-month hiatus. This is like Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
It takes some time to get the next season together.
I don't know if it's been maybe it has been 6 months. That's really upsetting, but I'm really happy we're back in it. We're doing it again.
Yeah.
It's a little different setup, but we got windows next to us. So it's feeling similar. Of
Right.
course, you're in a different part of the country.
Yes.
You're in New York.
Right.
I'm in Texas.
Yeah.
The weather might be a little bit different, but from where we're sitting, it's the same thing.
Looks the same.
Yeah. So what's going on in New York these days?
Well, finally, it's mid or early March, and it finally got cold. So that's what's happening right now. It's a little chilly.
What's the temperature out there?
It's probably it's still, it's amazing. We have not gotten to the point where it's been not hit 40 degrees most days. So every day has pretty much been 40 degrees or more, which for a New York winter is pretty good. But
That's not bad at all.
yeah. But today it's a little bit more blustery. It's very windy here today. So that's kind of the deal. But New York's New York, and it keeps moving on. It's very interesting. It goes through weeks where it's very busy. And then if there's ever a reason now post COVID with work from home or whatever, if there's ever a reason, some minor holiday, some blip on the radar somewhere, everything slows down for a week around that day. And feels like this is one of those weeks where there's no excuses. So everybody's in the city.
Well, everybody in New York is so packed together that there's domino effects anytime anything happens.
Yeah.
If there's any ripple, it affects everybody.
Yeah. Right. So
there's no buffer between people.
Yeah, that's true. The minute I go into the Starbucks in the morning, I'm like, okay, it's going to be a busy day or a not busy day.
Yeah,
totally
you feel
tell
it
right away. Right away.
That's something I've noticed in Texas. There's more space between each person. So there's more buffer. There's less of an impact from person to person. There's less of a domino effect.
Yeah.
You have it can be good or bad. You have a little bit more space and autonomy to kind of figure it out for yourself, but you don't ride the wave of there being an energetic day.
Yeah, for sure. I've been talking to, in the last however many months since we've done this, I think we've talked to a lot of new people kind of starting in the gym. And one of the things I think we see a lot is people who've moved to New York, right? So that's a thing that a lot of people move to New York and are looking for a good fitness community or a good new gym. And so we talk to a lot of those people. And I think, everybody comments that New York is a very unique place. And these aren't people who are coming from Iowa or anything. This is people from London, people from San Francisco, whatever the case may be. So they're coming from big cities, but even to them, New York is its own unique individual thing. It's a one of one place for sure.
It has such a personality.
Yeah.
A very unique personality, New York itself, that affects everybody. There's such a I love the edge to New York, where it's really clear what your intentions are, who are you trying to be, what you're trying to get, how you're going to do it. Everything's really clear and sort of everybody wears that information clearly on their sleeve.
Yeah.
So,
there's not a lot of kind of bullshitting here, right? It's straight to the point. Yeah,
exactly. Here, in Austin, everything is very blurry.
Yeah.
What do you do? I don't know. I'm just kind of figuring it out. Kind of moved down here. I'm not sure what's next.
Yeah.
It's who are you? What are you trying to do? What's the goal? And I think all the time people are always asking, do you want to open a fort in Austin? Do you want to, expand outside New York? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. In New York, people know what they need. They know what they want. It's very clear. We deliver a very clear, efficient, effective product. We're very open and honest about what it is, what it's going to do for you. And I don't know if that fits the vibe here.
Yeah. My problem is, I've lived in or around the city, pretty much my entire life. New York's basically my blood type at this point. And It's just hard for me. This is all I know. So it's just hard for me to know like what it would be like outside of here. Like, could be great, could be a disaster. This is like my only frame of reference. So I just, it's so hard for me to say.
Well, and I know this from experience, but when you are in a bad rhythm in New York, you feel it really hard and you just need to get out of it. Yeah. And kind of like what we were saying here in Austin, there's more of a buffer. When you're in a bad vibe, it's not like that clear that you're in a bad vibe. You're not feeling the effect of it that hard and quickly. Like the domino effect isn't as prominent. So there's a little more like wiggle room around it. And I'm not sure that people here would be able to identify what to do to solve that problem, or if it would be that appealing.
Yeah.
You know?
That makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah, I don't know. I do know this, like anytime anybody's anywhere outside of New York who are fans of the gym, they're always trying to encourage us to open a gym in wherever location they are also located. So if somebody's splitting time between, somebody's splitting time between New York and Miami, they're like, you got to open one of these in Miami. They could be in the middle of Kansas. They'd be like, you got to open one of these in the middle of Kansas. Like, they don't care about the business ramifications. They just want one available to them wherever they go.
What is the best? It's like New York pizza. Yeah. Like our gym, it was birthed out of necessity.
Yeah.
We had to solve this problem for these people that didn't have any time, and they had to do all the different types of training. They had to get stronger. They had to get more mobile. They had to have better cardio. They needed to do it all in an hour, 3 times a week, and they needed it now. And we had to solve for that because that's what New York was asking. So, I mean, it's one of the benefits of the city. I mean, it's how all the good stuff like comes out of New York. New York pizza like comes out of New York. I mean, fashion comes out of New York. The best garbage men in the country, New York.
Yeah. Well, all right. We have a large pool to pick from and very very high expectations. So that helps. I mean, I think this is kind of interesting. Like, so we have spoken to a lot of people, I think, since we've last kind of gotten on one of these podcasts, and a lot of people who are interested in the gym or looking to kind of solve the fitness problem. Like, what are you seeing from people now? Like, what are you hearing from people? What are they looking for? What do you think most people are like kind of seeking out when it comes to training these days? Maybe a little bit post-COVID or just like in general, now that we've spoken to so many new people who are seeking this out.
Well, still 90% of the people that I talk to, maybe even higher, people reference that they've fallen out of a rhythm since COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Almost everybody I talk to, like COVID has still like affected people. People are still being affected by the ripples of 2020, and their life before COVID and their life after COVID are very different. And they have a fondness for some period of their training before 2020, and they have yet to find that post 2020.
Right.
And I think the landscape's different. A ton of gyms closed, people moved, but they know everybody that fits in or falls into that camp. They haven't found a rhythm to where they feel good about what they're doing and where they're training, and they don't feel good about the future for them if they continue on the path. So they're looking for options. They're trying to figure out what they can do, what's out there. And I'm of the camp, like, as long as you can keep doing something, it's going to work. As long as you like it, you keep doing it, you're happy with it, you don't need us. We just did our best trying to create our favorite gym. You know, we were gym people. We were obsessed with the gym ourselves. The gym was part of our career, and we wanted to make our favorite one. But our favorite one doesn't mean it's the only one that's going to work.
Yeah.
You know, there's lots. The ones that are going to work are the ones that you can keep doing. You know.
Yeah.
And part of that is having it set up efficiently so that you can cover all your bases. You know, do you stay healthy? Can you keep moving well? Can you keep getting stronger? Can you improve your cardio? Can you keep looking better? If you can cover those bases for people, I think they're not really going to want to leave as long as they're improving in those areas of their fitness. I anybody I talk to, I don't really talk to anybody like outside of those goals.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it would be very hard for somebody to kind of find their way to us if that wasn't important. Every once in a while it happens, but if you don't really value fitness, if it's not a big deal to you, I mean, what we do is just way too involved. Like if you're casual about it, you're probably not going to find your way to us. What kind of surprises me is like a lot of the things that people found that were working for them, when those things reopened, there seems to be some sort of like some big shift, because a lot of people are no longer kind of getting the same value, or don't feel like a lot of the places they used to be going to are providing as good a product as they did prior to getting shut down. And like obviously our business changed quite a bit since we reopened. We retooled a lot of things, particularly how we get clients in and all that other stuff. But even the product and our structure and the number of trainers we have and everything, like, you know, we made some changes too. Ideally, our changes were for the better. I think if we did anything, we kind of reinforced our infrastructure and like built more of a team and more of a net and more ways to succeed, where I think a lot of other places maybe went the other way with it. But it's very interesting to me that people who like loved their group fitness classes or their CrossFit gym or their whatever have like really become dissatisfied with it. I think the fitness industry is at like a little bit of a crossroads now, where a lot of like the big players have maybe lost a little bit of their street cred, and some new people are coming up. I think the landscape's changing. I think it's going to continue to change for the next couple of years, just based on what I'm hearing from people.
What kind of change do you see? Like what results of the change do you see in the market and in the industry?
Yeah, I think quite honestly, a lot of people who were training for kind of the bigger fitness studios branched out on their own, developed their own kind of online training business. You know how it is. A lot of people fall in love with the trainer and not necessarily the modality. So I think those trainers scooped up people kind of running their own kind of online business or virtual business. And I have my feelings about how good or not good of an idea that is, but my feelings aside, like that does seem to have happened. And a lot of those trainers didn't go back to the places that they kind of made great for those people. And in those places, a lot of people have their favorite trainer or have their favorite classes. And when that changes, and it's not the same, in particular, if they feel like quality's gone down, you know, they're not going to go back to that. And I think that's kind of what they're feeling. The other thing is like a lot of people went back to places that are now, the places that did survive feel a little overrun and a little impersonal. You know, it's a little bit of a cash grab where, you know, they're not providing the kind of the customer service or the kind of care that they did kind of right when they reopened, when they had a little bit more space and a little bit more room. So I feel like maybe it's a combination of all those things, you know, like people are just, it doesn't feel like it used to. And that's tough for people who are like, had been dedicated to a place or found a reason to fall in love with a place. It's hard when that thing changes. I think a lot of people are feeling that.
Yeah, I think people are looking generally for a home, and I think they're having a hard time with the remote training or like a one-on-one remote training option and a bigger group in-person group fitness option, that they're not feeling seen as individuals. They're not feeling like they're part of a group going in a particular direction. And it kind of feels like everybody's sort of a lone wolf. You know, even in a big group, it's like a whole bunch of lone wolves all together that piece together their workouts through ClassPass or through like different fitness studios that they have access to, and they like set their own schedules, and nobody's really, you know, part of a movement. Really, there's not really like any movements out there, really. Yeah. And but I think people want that. You know, I think that's, they like feeling part of a meaningful group where they know people, they know what the intentions and the philosophies around what they're doing is, and they're moving forward with it. There's progress with it. It's going somewhere. Mm-hmm. You know, this place is leading to an end, rather than it exists only in this workout, in this moment, or with this one person.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you were saying that like people want that sense of like kind of accountability and rhythm, and that's definitely true. I would say the thing that I'm hearing the most is that people want community. A lot of people are more isolated now than ever. A lot of people are still working from home, if not fully, then partially. They want to go to a place, and I think people are a little less concerned about like the health ramifications of being in groups now. And I think they want to be around people. They want to be around people. They want to be around people, they want to be around like-minded people. They want to be around people who push them and challenge them, and they also have a good time with. I think that's harder and harder to come by. And I think it's the key to success, not only in training and anything. Like you want to be in close proximity to people who are achieving and who are striving and who ideally are a little ahead of you. I think it's like a super important thing. I don't even know if everybody would articulate it in that way, but I think everybody wants to be in a community of people. As kind of digital and unattached as we become, I think having connections to people actually becomes more and more important to balance that out. And I think people are looking for that in a gym. And I think what's unique about what we do, and a lot of people mention this who are savvy that I talk to on the phone, is like, what we do is very challenging to pull off for most places. A lot of people that I speak to, when I tell them our philosophy and how we kind of progress the training programs and we get involved with you and we keep track of your stuff and we keep the group small and we do all these training phases and kind of all the effort that we put in because we are gym people, and that's like kind of that's the basis of our education, and we're super nerdy about it. But I think people are like, wow, this is, I love this philosophy. Like, this seems like the way the training should be. I don't understand why my gym or why my facility doesn't do it this way. And I'm like, always used to think that too until I got in the business of it. And I'm like, they don't do it because it's really hard to pull off. Like, it's actually
so hard,
really challenging thing to pull off well. Like, it's, I'm not so convinced that it's like the best business model, which is why like a lot of gyms open, right? They take on investor money and whatever it is, and they're looking to like kind of satisfy the best way to solve the business need so that they can become packageable and buyable and have private equity invest in them and then walk off with some money. And certainly the way we do things does not lend itself to that approach if that is your priority. It's really good for training. It's really great for the client. It's really hard for us. And I think people respond to that. They're like, these guys are in it for the right reasons and for the training reasons, if you know what good training is.
Dude, if we were in it for the money, we'd be doing something else.
Yeah, very different. We'd be in tech or something.
We'd be doing Mr. Beast style fitness videos, like all day.
Yeah, yeah,
100%. Yeah, no. If we were in it for the money, it'd be a totally different thing. And I mean, you can look around and see the businesses, the fitness businesses that exist that are only in it for the money. And it's really like, how can we say all the words that people respond to? How do we say toned the most? How do we like reinvent exercise science and use vocabulary that hits people on a marketing level? How do we, make it really easy for them to pay us money, to keep coming back, to fit as many of those people into the fulfillment as possible, and to just run a business machine. And I mean, I'm not going to name names, but like you can tell. You can tell.
Hey, listen,
you can tell the businesses that are out there that are built for that intent.
Yeah, that's a good skill too, right? Like, I'm not trying to minimize that. Like, there's companies whose we knew them from the kind of their start, and they've grown into this hundreds of millions of dollars valuation, and have gotten those exits that I mentioned. And I mean, I wouldn't know how to do that. So like, that's still impressive to me, but it's not great for training, like that's not, but that wasn't their priority. Right. But I think most people, unfortunately, it's getting better. I would say this, speaking to people, it's getting better, but a lot of people still don't know what good training is.
What do you think people want? And when I say that, what they want, meaning they've arrived to a place where they're no longer looking at any other option. They're only concerned with what they're doing, and they will continue doing what they're doing.
Like, what do they want fitness wise?
Yeah. As a fitness wise, as a result of their fitness program, how could you describe the average person that has arrived to a place where they're no longer even curious about any other fitness solutions out there, businesses, solutions, programs, whatever? Like, what would they have to be like? What would their results have to be like?
Yeah, I think it's on an arc depending on like who you're talking to and at what point of their life they're at. I still think for some people there's definitely still a group of like where it's aesthetics. They want to look good. They want to look better in and out of their clothes. They want improved body composition. It could be for health purposes as well. Like they could have an eye on that, but a lot of it is just they want to look great.
Do you think those people though will ever be satisfied?
I mean, they might always be striving for more, but like, I mean, I'll say from my personal experience, like that was the reason I started training in my late 20s, was like I was very dissatisfied with the way that I looked and the way that I felt. And I got to a point where I was like, oh, pretty good. Like I did it. You know, like I actually did. Not that I can't get better, because I can, but I actually did get to a point where I was like, holy shit, I can't believe it. Now, I think that I personally, from the amount of time that I dedicated to it, the way that I went about it, and kind of the length of time that I did it, I think I got kind of extraordinary results, because I don't think most people are willing to kind of do it the way that I did it for as long as I did. So I don't think most people kind of get there. But I definitely think there's people who, you know, if they lost 5 or 10 pounds, would probably be happy with that result. Would they be fully satisfied? Who knows? You know. But I think more and more people, I think so. That's a camp of people. I think more and more people that we see are doing it for a little bit of like longevity. Like they have the understanding that like incorporating these things is like a really good long-term solution for them from a lifestyle standpoint. I think there's a bunch of people who think it'll help them achieve in other areas of their life. Like a lot of people feel a lot of like clarity, a lot of energy, a lot of focus in their job, their relationships, or whatever that stems from training. So I think that's a big part of it. A lot of people do it for their mental health now. You know, I think that's a reason why people like to train kind of regularly, and maybe even want to train more days than they need to, is because just that rhythm of getting in the gym and those feelings are like something that make them feel good. But I think when I was a kid, like everybody trained to look better, looked more muscular, looked leaner, more ripped. And I think now people are doing it because they know it's the fountain of youth. They know it's like really good for their health and their mental well-being, and just helps in the achievement department. And circling it back to New York, like it's one thing that's pretty universal about New York is everyone's fairly concerned in the achievement department. So if this helps that, people are willing to invest in it.
Yeah, for sure. I can think back to when I was at maybe my very fittest, and, you know, had made a career in the aesthetics of my look. And I was probably the least satisfied that I had ever been, because all I did was see everybody else that was in better shape. There was always better. It was really, and here's the thing, it was a real bummer. And I think it really led me to seek out something else, anything else. Yeah. I think that's where like I really got into CrossFit, because nobody cared about what you look like. It wasn't about that. It was about your performance. What was your score? What was your time? It was just very clear. It was such a nice relief. And you know, there were always people better, but I knew what I was capable of, and I knew I had given my best effort, and there was more of a relief in it. There was more control in it. And I had a compelling future that I could make progress in this pathway, in this goal, where in aesthetics, I did not have that sort of like feeling. Yeah. I kind of felt very, very limited. by like the size of my muscles, the size of my shoulders, the size of my biceps. There's so many aesthetic elements in there that were really hard to isolate and hard to measure and hard to feel progress in. And you were sort of going at it alone. It just wasn't very clear and wasn't a very objective and measured. And I just didn't have a very compelling future about continuing on in this path.
Yeah.
And I think you have to see that, like in the aesthetic sports when it comes to fitness. Like, I don't think C-Bum's satisfied. I don't think.
No. I mean, that's different.
You know,
yeah, that's a different, like, you know, competitive bodybuilders or competitive physique people. I think that's a different level. I think there's a limit, right? I actually think like improving your aesthetics and the way you look and the way you feel about yourself is actually not shallow at all. I actually think it like has huge repercussions in the rest of your life. You know, there's definitely some research that shows like when people improve the way they look and feel about themselves, like those are actually they do set them up for more like kind of happiness and self-satisfaction, as opposed to maybe gaining more money or more status or more things, right? So I think like actual self-improvement is actually really valuable to people. I think what you're describing though is when you cross the line into obsessive. Yeah. And that's a different thing. Like I never got there. Like I was never like obsessive about it. Like I was never like, well, if I don't get down to 4% body fat, like I'm not going to feel good about it. Like I never got there.
That was the hell of it too, is like you get down to 4% body fat and then you were too small. And then you get, you know, bigger and stronger and then you were too fat. And then you were too small and then you're too fat. And then this was off and this was that. But I think what you said just now is like really, it's a very important distinction, which is it's the process of self-improvement and the feeling of control that you have. Mm-hmm. Like when you successfully transform yourself and you change from A to B and you realize I have a lot of control over myself and I can influence the way I look through these habits and through these changes. I think that is like that's universally kind of like what people ultimately want, right? And it may be what drove me in toward CrossFit, because I started feeling like I had a little bit more control over this. I had more say in the process and in the input, and or into the what I put in equated to what I put out. And I think people want that. I think they want to feel that they are in some sort of control, that the work that they are putting in towards something is actually paying off. And I think they're looking for that place, that state.
Yeah. It was a huge part of the appeal to me. Like the fact that like I put in this work and I actually get a result off of this and I can see that line directly was just massive for me, because in every other part of your life, that is a very hard thing to see. Like you can be the best at your job, or you can run the best business, or you can try to be the best father or husband or whatever it is. But like that relies on other people seeing it, other people making decisions, right? And all that influence, right? You can think that you're the best dad in the world, but if your kid isn't kind of relating to you, like you're not feeling those effects back. Or you could work harder than everyone else in your department and still get passed over for a raise or a promotion, right? That's reality. That happens to everybody. It's very rarely that those things feel like justice is being served, right? But with the gym or things, like it just feels a lot more in your control. It's like if I put in the work and I go consistently and I follow the program and I, you know, as long as you're following like kind of good stuff, like you will see results, like not necessarily on the same timeline as everyone else, but like it works. Like, you know, like barring like some real extreme factors, like it will work. And I think that's just a very, very satisfying thing for a lot of people, because it's the rare place where that's true.
Yeah. And I mean, they feel it, right? Mm-hmm. Like you feel it when you're in alignment and you're making progress and it's working and it's paying off. You feel totally different. I think that's what ultimately motivates people to sign up for calls with us, is they're not feeling it. They're not feeling that progress. They're not feeling control. They're not feeling like they're headed in the right direction.
Yeah.
And they're looking for people that they believe might be, or might be able to help them feel better, feel different.
Yeah. It does work. It does work that way. It's the thing that it's the thing that always gets me excited about our gym and talking to people. You know, it's my ace in the hole. This is like, you cannot like me, you cannot like what our bathrooms look like or the equipment we use or whatever the case may be. Like you could always find things to not like or poke holes in or whatever. But the truth is, at the end of the day, like, what we do really works if you stick with it. If you stick with it, put the effort in, show up and train hard every time, show up for your sessions, like, it will work. And there's so few things out there in the world where you can say that about a business or a product, where you're like, oh yeah, this will work. Like, it's going to do it. So like, that's the thing that makes it easy for me. Everything else is hard, you know, like all the structures and all the other things you have to overcome. But like, the belief in what we do and the product and how I truly feel that we're helping people, like, that's the thing that makes it actually easy. You know, that's the thing that makes it's almost like the training was for me. Like, I knew if I kept doing it, I would get better. This is the same thing. It's like, if I know if I can keep getting people to see it and understand what good training is, like, they will get better, whether they do it with us or not. But like, once they kind of get on the path of like, oh, this is the way it's supposed to be, like, it works. And that is just very satisfying, in the same way that training is like super satisfying.
Dude, so let me ask you, is it still working?
Yeah. Dude, I mean, I'll cut straight to the chase here. I don't think I'm like a genetic freak. I have good ability to put on muscle mass. I'll say that. Probably better than most. But like, I don't come from like a family of like real athletic people. No one really trains in my house, in my household growing up. You know, it's not like that, right? And I'm 50 years old right now. And this is the only way that I train. And I'm in great shape. I'm in great shape. I'm strong as shit. I look good. I move pretty well. I mean, it works. It's doing it, you know? And here's the thing. It's not like I'm even killing myself anymore. Like, I train with purpose. I train hard, but it's not like, dude, when I was like doing the weightlifting competitions, I was talking about this yesterday, I would lay in bed at night and just be like, I can't believe how much pain I'm in. Like, I cannot believe how hurt, like, I just can't, I was like, there's no way this is good for me. I do not feel that way anymore. Like, I train hard. It's over. I'm done with it. And it works. Like, it just does. It's again, like, for me, it's working. But I've done the prerequisites, right? I do it. Yeah. I do it to my abilities. I understand the process. I stay in my lane, and I just keep doing it. And I think that's the secret. You don't have to like crush yourself every day. You don't have to crush yourself every time you train. But if you just keep coming, you get into that 80-85% range where you're like 80-85% of your abilities, 80-85% of the time, you're going to be right there. And then every once in a while, particularly with the strength stuff, I will switch it on so I could show these young kids what's what, you know, because that makes, you know, that makes me, that's fun for me, you know?
It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun for me. But like, that's it. It does work. It works exactly that way. And I'm not saying this for this to be a commercial for the Fort, because you don't have to do it that way here. If you're in Des Moines and you follow a really good program and get a couple of gym buddies and train hard 3 times a week and keep track of your weights and make progress and do meaningful stuff, like, it's the same. You'll do the same thing. We just set up a place where it's easy for you to get that done.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't reinvent the wheel. We have no gimmicks. We have no shtick. Like, it is very basic stuff. It is not that exciting. It is not like we are not going 100% all the time. That's where I've arrived as well. I feel better than I've ever felt. I'm older than I've ever been, clearly. Obviously, like we all,
that's how it works.
Are.
Yeah,
that's how it works. And I'm not laying in bed just in tears anymore. I'm not cramping up in the middle of the night in uncontrollable, cramps and convulsions like I was when I was training like 3 times a day at like 100% effort. And you can do that, and you'll learn a lot about yourself and your limits that way. But ultimately, it's about arriving back to that 85% of the time. Like, you're training at 85%, like, and you're doing that 85% of the time. Yeah. And you keep making improvements, and they might not equate exactly in the weight that you're lifting or the speed that you're performing, but it equates in how you're responding to it and what the training does to you, what effect it actually has on your being and your life existence through your body. And I agree with you, man. I've never felt better. I love training. I look forward to it. It's top priority. And it's because I understand the value of what it gives me.
Yeah, for sure. And here, like I said, I don't want to undersell it either. Like, if you're someone who's been going to the gym and, you take 5-minute rest intervals between sets while you sit on the pec deck and read People magazine, like, you come in here, it's going to hit you really hard. Like, you are going to be in your bed in the middle of the night being like, what has happened to me?
Yeah.
But
there's no way around that.
Yeah. You can adapt pretty quickly. Whereas,
you can get to a good place.
Yeah. Whereas, if you're a college football player doing 2-a-days plus practices, like, there's just no way to get out of like physical discomfort. Like, no, like, I don't care how in shape you are. Like, there's just no way to avoid it. And you can do that to yourself in training too. Like, you can bury yourself if you want to, but it's just not necessary.
You don't have to. Yeah. And after enough time, you'll realize that you don't have to do that. And you can still make meaningful progress. You can still work toward the person you want to be and the goals that you have for yourself without driving yourself into the dirt.
Yeah, for sure. And if you are that person, like, try to get on the other side of it. Have other interests. I actually think that's like kind of an underrated thing. Yeah. Like, some people get so obsessed with the gym. It's like, have other interests, play chess, start painting, I don't know, read books, whatever it is. Like, don't make the gym the only thing. That's not great.
Yeah. You'll be surprised at the carryover that it has in so many things, man.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, listen, I got to roll. This is awesome. Yeah. I'm so pumped that we're doing this, and we're back at it.
Yeah. Should we do the old, I'm Dan from the fort?
No,
it's over.
Not doing Dan and Kyle from the fort.
Yeah.
This is our podcast.
Yeah.
We'll see you again soon. We'll
do
it again next week.
It's perfect.
We'll see you next week.
All right. See you, man.
See you.
All right. Bye.